Hey,
Hey,
all right. I assume people can hear us?
I don't know. Can anyone in the chat? You can hear us.
Hey.
Great.
Okay.
Awesome. I'll just give everyone a bit of a minute to enter, and then I'll do a quick intro for you, Aaron. Is
Barack should
Bara
be here. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I think he's probably a little lost. Well, you just got to.
okay? We'll give that a minute.
I'm assuming he should just join. Should I tell him to join this space if he's not here?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Hey, everyone.
All right.
Awesome.
Mr. Bara.
All right. Shall we kick into it?
Sure, we'll figure it out as he
Okay.
comes in. I think we can.
Wonderful. Well, thanks everyone for joining. We have Aaron today who's going to be talking about some of the interesting things going on in Thinkific and how they're approaching product, how they kind of how they're doing what they're doing. So Aaron will be leading this presentation, and we do have another product manager who may join him sometime through the presentation. His name is Bara, and if that happens, we'll just kind of sort it out as we go. Aaron will be sharing his screen and talking through some slides that he's prepared, and I will be keeping an eye on the chat. So if anyone has any questions as Aaron is talking, just please put them in the chat, and I will just shout them out to Aaron when it makes sense, when he's kind of taken a pause. And there'll also be time at the end for some other questions, which you can also put in the chat. Okay. Are you good to go, Aaron?
Can you see my screen?
I can see it. I assume everyone else can see it too. If anyone can just say, yep.
Perfect. And you
Awesome.
saw my Slack kind of over there. Brad's trying to figure out how to get here. I think he'll get here at some point. So,
perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping today is going to be pretty conversational, I suppose. I've got some slides that I can share and kind of talk through how we think about things at Thinkific. But definitely open to having questions and kind of diving into it with people as well. So kind of excited to get going. This is, I would say, my first presentation with Product BC. So yeah,
welcome.
Let's do it. Thank you. Okay. So Bara's not here yet, but this is me. I am a product manager at. Oh, I see Bra. Hold on one sec. Sorry, he's in our space now. Okay, so yeah, my name is Aaron. I'm actually the third Aaron that got hired at Thinkific, so I had to rebrand, and people call me AV. So feel free. I guess I'm just used to that now. I'm a product manager at Thinkific. I focus on our platform initiatives, and so for us, an exciting aspect of that is our imminent app store. That we're kind of working towards. So I spend a lot of time thinking about integrations, APIs, as well as our app developers, our partners, and anybody that's kind of working around Thinkific and within that ecosystem. So thinking about how do we solve more problems for our creators in the end. And Bara is here as well. Bara, I think you have to share. Does he have to share anything with you? Do you know?
Oh, I see. Ross, Bara is going to be talking as well. Is he able to?
Hey, Ross.
Ross will sort that out.
Thanks, Ross.
He'll have to click the button.
We'll come back here. Bara's here. Got his cute little kid on his shoulders here. And Bara is our product manager for our Plus space. And so for us, that's enterprise. Thinking about the larger customers on our platform. And so we'll dive a little bit deeper into that. And maybe go back to that once he gets in. We can actually do a proper intro. So who is Thinkific? I'm assuming people have somewhat of an understanding of who we are. We're based out of Vancouver here. Been around for 7-8 years now, something like that. We are uniting business and education creates an unstoppable force for positive change. And so our mission is to create and grow businesses that teach. We are the operating system for knowledge commerce. And so really where we think about helping who we call creators. So for us, we have our users, we call them creators because they're creating content. And those are really the people that we spend a lot of time wallowing in kind of their needs and their use cases and really focusing on how can we improve their lives. And for us, how we measure that impact at Thinkific is largely around these numbers. So we have over 51,000 course creators on our platform building courses. We have over 100 million courses taken. We call them enrollments. So that's people that have actually taken a course within Thinkific. We have creators around the world in 190 countries and over $165 million earned on our platform, so GMV. So those are the creators actually earning money and building a business on top of Thinkific. And so who's Thinkific for? So really the people we think about the most are individuals looking for education, community, and support to grow their online business through courses or membership sites. Coaches, speakers, content creators, authors, freelancers, individuals with a side hustle, and aspiring and existing course creators looking to build a lasting education business. Raha is coming on. This is his piece here. I'm going to keep going. And Hootsuite is here. Companies looking to increase product adoption, reduce churn, or increase their revenue through online and education businesses. And so really the core of Thinkific and who we cater to is like the SMB space. So people that are trying to, just keeping an eye on chat here too. So people that are maybe like one or two within the company, often they're solo or they have a couple of people working with them. And that's really the core focus of who we are. But once Brad's in here too, he's really focused on kind of that larger space, the Hootsuites, the people that are using Thinkific for a different use case. And so hopefully we can have some conversation today just around the differences in how we think about those things. Because I do believe how we build product is largely defined by the customers that we have and the people that we're trying to work towards. The SMB space, they're looking for things to move quickly and be reliable and as simple as possible. And we try to cater the way that we build product to their needs as much as possible. So I'm going to dive into a little bit of just kind of how we structure our product team. So our product team obviously made up of product managers, engineers, and team leads and designers. And we organize these into pods, we call them. And so every product manager is organized into a pod with a designer and a lead engineer, and they work in front of an engineering team exclusively. So each of the pods is kind of spaced into that. We do have data analysts and user researchers, but those are not within the pod. They are kind of more resources for those teams to work with. And let's go here. So the next focus here. The pod is basically a collaborative working group brought together to achieve outcomes for our users and our business. And so the product manager in that space really owns the vision and the prioritization of the needs of our customers. The designer on the team owns the experience strategy and the solution definition and really guides a lot of the discovery that we do. And then the lead engineer owns the architectural strategy and the roadmap around what we're doing. And so they need to have a very clear understanding of that priority and making sure that we're moving on the architectural side of things as well. And then we also, hello, Bara. There he is. And we also have team leads who are part of our engineering core, and they really handle the Scrum rituals for us. So that's not something that at Thinkific generally a product manager does is manage sprints and retros and all those sorts of things. Those are handled by our team leads, and they handle a lot of the tactical management of everyday build with all of those teams. Is that accurate, Bra? How do you feel about that one?
Yeah.
How into the weeds do you get, I suppose?
I think, I could usually it depends on how we think about it. It depends on the problem we go into it. But we kind of we work back from the customer experience. and try to figure out how we can deliver on that experience as much as possible. So working back together as much as possible. And as product managers, I think, we try to focus specifically on the vision and the needs of the customer without getting too much into the weeds. But sometimes in some conversation, depends on where you come from. Like I come from a technical background, so it's hard for me to not touch that part. But as a PM, I'm not responsible for that part. I own the what and why. But sometimes to facilitate conversations, it's nice sometimes to jump technically and get your hands into the solution and to the problem. But it's not always that case. So we try to leave that to the designer, the engineer, and the tech lead.
Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So Thinkific we have a lot of, I think we're at 9 product managers now at Thinkific. So I think this summer we are at 2. So we've been, I'll get to this later. Some of the challenges we've had is really around scaling and thinking about how do we onboard more product managers into that space really quickly. We have one product. We don't have multiple different products that we're selling to customers. And so the way that we have to organize our product managers and our pods essentially is into more of these value streams, and almost in the space of like a jobs to be done framework. So we think about we are the intersection for our course creators in between their entrepreneur and their education. So selling and teaching are kind of the 2 logical spaces between where we want to focus. And so we focus our pods kind of within those spaces, and each of them will start to really focus in on sub jobs within each of those spaces. So within teaching, for example, course creation and community enhancements, those sorts of things are really kind of where each of those pods are focused. Within the selling space, it's website, marketing, checkout examples. On the manage, that's kind of more of our plus and our scale side of things. So that's where Bara, you spend a lot of your time is in the plus space. And then I suppose I'm an other in this situation, but platform is in that largely because we span across all of these things. So as we think about that within API land and within apps and the functionality we're building, we're trying to span across all of these things. We're trying to build apps that build solutions into the selling experience, into the teaching experience, and into the management experience. And we also have a growth team that is really, really meant to be agile and meant to create a lot of the experimentation and drive insights for the product teams as well. We also have a number of engineering teams that don't have pods. So they're really focused on like the architecture, the performance, the DevOps, those sorts of things. So we have a whole space. We focus, well, we call it trust. It's about building trust in the platform and reliability. Nothing gets our users, our course creators more riled up and frustrated with us if we're unreliable for their business. They need to have something stable and that they can build on top of. And so that's really how we think about that as well as a key tenet within the product offering that we have.
And with COVID, we had massive growth, just like some businesses gave us that massive growth. And so there are a lot of things were not thought about before COVID. So when that hits, it's amazing opportunity, but to the customer, we try to make sure that does not impact the customer experience overall. So we wanted to kind of be there for the customer. And so, with the growth now, trying to add more people to try to really solve some of these challenges that were not thought about as part of the roadmap originally, but it's amazing to have. And so having those is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so within that pod space, really what we define as the responsibilities for our product manager, first and foremost, it's gathering customer insights and converting them into actions. We see ourselves as the hub where all of that collects. So there's a lot of different stakeholders that are providing those insights, and really our job is to collect those, turn that into something meaningful, and create action out of that. Within the pod relationship and within the other stakeholders that we have, we own the strategy, the vision, and the roadmap. And really, one of the huge expectations for a product manager is to be collaborative and be able to delegate effectively with our stakeholders. And we'll talk a little bit about this later too, in terms of like the way we prioritize, the way we discover, the way that we build product. Essentially, is a huge collaboration between us and the other factions within our space. Another key piece for us is storytelling. And so perhaps that's on two sides, I suppose. So one is the ensuring that our team understands the customer need and all of the relevant context. So I mentioned earlier, we as product managers aren't doing any of the agile traditions in terms of working with the team day to day. And so it's more important than ever for us to make sure that we are effective storytellers so that our team is able to make decisions without being blocked by us. If we're not available for any one reason, they have the ability to do that. And so our ability to tell the story about the problem that our customer is having to our team and help our team feel that. We do that in a number of ways. One of my favorites is always just every time I have a customer call, I'm always posting into our engineering team and say, hey, I've got a call. Who wants to join? Just become a fly on the wall. I think that's a really good way for us to bring our engineers and help them feel more empowered to make those decisions so that we don't have to spend every day making decisions for them on the nuances of a lot of these things. I'll stop there. Bharat, how does that, do you do a lot of that stuff? Do you have any techniques for how you think about that?
Yeah, I think, as product people, we're storytellers, we're visionary. I mean, that's not a general grouping, but, part of stepping into that role, you need to be that visionary, looking at the future, at the opportunities where the customer is, and don't talk about it from solution, from feature set. You talk about it from a story. What is the customer trying to achieve, and where are the hurdles in the middle? And so when you explain it that way, people can have built empathy with you. So, you're trying to build that empathy with a customer, try to understand them, and take that story or multiple stories, insights, and try to tell that in a aggregated way or like a group way to your engineering team to try to help them see that in the way and inspire them and help them build empathy. So when they're building, they know exactly who they're building for and why. So we do a lot of that, storytelling and ensuring, everybody crisply understand what's going on. So that's really important part of, how we look at collaboration, because that makes the conversation more personal, more about the customer as opposed to a feature or solution or a technical debt or technical problem, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. And then on the other side, once that piece has been, the solution has been created, our job is to champion that solution and ensure all stakeholders understand the core value of that piece and can bring that into the role. So making sure our, not just that, hey, this thing has launched, but our support team, our sales team, our marketing team understands the core benefits that we have helped to design into this thing, and really started to tell the story, not just of the pain, but of the solution to that pain, and making sure that that's reflected in a lot of those pieces. And so kind of being a champion for that throughout the company is an important aspect of a product manager's role as well. So I kind of summarize this as gather, prioritize, emanate, measure, and learn. And I think those other two pieces the last two pieces are quite important in that as well. The only way at Thinkific, the only way we fail as product managers is if we don't measure and we don't learn. So anything we're doing as we move forward, if we're not looking at those things and we're just launching features and assuming that they're working, that's when we fail. If we launch something, we measure it, we learn, and we uncover that it's not important or it hasn't worked for our customers, we still see that as a success. And so we generally really celebrate those failures as much as possible, as long as we're measuring and we're learning from them. So we'll jump into some of our product rituals. And Bharat, you want to take this one over?
Yeah, let's talk about this one. I'm going to use the terminology boop and beep. So I guess we're going to go next. So ritual, just like any company, we have adopted a few rituals that works for the team. And some of those rituals that we'll talk about come from the team itself in terms of way to engage them. But generally speaking, we have, top-down, bottom-up planning sessions where we look at the business from where the business needs to go going in the future, but then how do we self-deliver that? It's really from the bottom, starts from the customer and the team. And, and we measure our impact as a company using OKRs, which is, that came out of Google and worked really successfully. So we use that as a way to measure where we're going. This is the objective, and this is how we measure impact. And based on that, we really know exactly what we're doing. Generally, where the direction we're heading, and then as teams, we start heading to the next one. So Boop. So then once we figure out the objective we want to go, and we talk about it from planning point of view, this is where we want to go, we start the quarterly planning. So we start with the annual, break it down into quarterly, and then we self-organize in a way to help build solutions and look at problems we want to solve, opportunities we want to solve. And then we communicate that up to the management team, and we justify why and back it up with data. And we here at a company, we use innovation really well. We love innovation. And so just like Google, the 20% budget that is given to people to work on anything they want, we use that. So at the beginning of every quarter, we have a Blue Sky Week. We call it the Blue Sky Week. It's Innovation Week, where the teams get to work, everybody in the company get to work on anything they want for a week. So they pitch ideas similar to startup weeks, and they get people excited about it, and they form teams and work on problems they're personally excited about, or it's solve a specific part of the problem, of the company problem or the customer problem. All ideas, everything on the table, just for them to just focus on, get excited and focus on something outside of work. And a week is kind of spent on that to try to excite people and come back to present. And so what we do is that we have like 5 build processes and 1 up week to do all of that work, and go back again for another 5 weeks worth of work. And then the 2 weeks we do demos and Blue Sky Week. So this is how we self-organize as a company. It's up and down, and try to manage that rhythm internally. Next, or Boop.
Right on. Oh, wait. There we go.
And then when we go from quarter, with the 4 quarters, we then go to the monthly planning. And so that's when we continue as a business line. We talk about what we're doing on a monthly basis, what that would look like from work perspective. How do we break the work into small pieces that can be delivered within those months, or how we measure our impact. And so a lot of that pod work gets to communicate with the business line, with the leadership. We have GTM teams that look after that, but also the teams really self-organize and report back on their progress and the challenges they face. Next, I think we're missing a couple of more.
Yeah, I'll stop there, Bharat. I put this one in here actually. So for us, one of the things that we do monthly is just do a review and talk a little bit about like the prioritization later on as well. But we, at least on the platform team that we have, we work really closely between the ops and the product together to be able to. We have shared OKRs, and so we do a shared monthly review of that, where we kind of bring in some of the leadership pieces, people, and ensure that we show them the prioritization, and we have a collaborative conversation about how that kind of meets in there. So that's kind of one of those pieces that we have monthly, and then we'll go into. Oh, I forgot to change this. This is weekly.
Yeah, and then on a weekly basis, we have some sort of release on a weekly basis. We push to production on regular basis, so as regularly as weekly. And so on a weekly basis as a team, we have review sessions. So because now we have lots of product managers, they manage different areas of the product. We need to kind of come together to make sure we're aligned on things. We're not touching something that somebody else's can touch on. And so we present ideas and collect feedback from each member. We use it as a safe session as PMs to kind of get ideas and present ideas and directions and get feedback before it actually gets solidified and becomes a plan. So we have those brief reviews. We talk about we develop an idea in terms of where we're going and what we're doing and why we're doing it, et cetera, and then continues to align ourselves and ensure that we understand where the company is going generally, if there are any directions that come from leadership that will impact some of the deliverables. We also, as a company, we have a product forum, which is something we added to our ritual recently, where we present a roadmap on a weekly basis to everybody in the organization, so everybody knows where we're going and what we're doing. And we talk about ideas, we gather feedback as well. So it's another, going from the product team to more of a company side and get them excited, talk about what we're doing and gather feedback as well. And then as PMs, we solidify those plans, then we go back and talk about releases and release planning and, where it's going to sit, and then communicate with the stakeholders like marketing, sales, market teams, CSMs, how's that going to be released, what documentation needs to be available. And we talk about the release planning and timelines, just like project management. Boop.
Cool. I see actually a question in the chat, if we can stop here, just around how the product form works exactly. Do you want to dive into that, Bra, a little bit more? Do you want to do
absolutely. That? So we have an agenda, and we try to make it balanced. So every PM will come every week to come, first we present our roadmaps, and then we talk about where we're going. And so that's a general idea in terms of talking people, understanding the direction we're heading and why. And then, every week we take one piece, like every PM will talk about what they're working on, why, and dig deeper into the details and the weed about how they're doing things, why they're doing it, and even gathering more feedback or gathering more ideas. So it starts very generic at the beginning. This is the direction of where we're going. And then on a weekly basis, more like a status report, or talk about how we're thinking about each feature going forward. Like I'm working on a feature now that I'm going to bring it to the product forum next week to talk about why I was thinking about that, why the decision on the design, on the customer experience, on the release, how are we going to launch it strategically and go to market, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the ideas and it's an opportunity for us, like the CEOs there, like the senior leadership are there talking about their ideas, listening, seeing what's going on. Every stakeholder in the company get to attend and see not what 1 PM is working on, but what the organization is heading after. And then it's a discussion in terms of that impacts the technical roadmap, what do we need to think about architecturally, what everybody's doing may stretch the product in some direction. We want to get some alignments on. So it's really an opportunity for us to gather feedback and talk about ideas as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually it's about an hour and a half. We do it right now every Wednesday. It's so product managers. So I'm not, for example, Bra or myself, we're not presenting every week. We'll usually have like 3 themes or whatever that would be. That is kind of the focus of that. And so, for example, today was Wednesday. I did a quick presentation on just some of the feedback that we have on some of the features that we've launched recently. So we're looking at some of the metrics and some of the measurements. And so being able to report that back to the company and share some of the insights is a couple of things that we're doing there. There's another question here I see as well. Building features for specific verticals, or I suppose horizontals. Bra, you added that.
So I answered it, but let me give you that. So as a mandate, we don't do dealwares. I think this is like one of the biggest things. I come from a previous to Thinkific, I come from an enterprise company, and we will do a lot of dealwares in the past. So, when I was hired, the CEO told me, we don't do dealwares here. We look at the customer and focus and why we're doing that for all customer. We want to benefit all of our customer. We care about customers a lot. And so that was a really an interesting thought for me, because I've never experienced something like that, which I loved. Mm-hmm. We use a book called Escaping the Bill Trap. We really use a lot of the principles from that book about how do you, it's like there is a bill trap that you get to it and how you try to escape out of it. And part of it is you need to listen to the market and to your customer. You don't want to be a sales organization where you just listen to sales. You don't want to be a technical organization where you just care about innovation, not the customer. We want to be a customer experience, like focus on the customer. So we do. And then part of the success is identifying which vertical is, needs the most of the help. And especially with our customer base, we have, lots of use cases. So we always try to focus on which use case we see the most and how can we build that will benefit everybody, and help us really achieve more results for our customers. And with the plus, or what I manage, which is the enterprise, we have lots of use cases, lots of verticals. So we're very specific at who the product is for. But within that, there are use cases. Some of it is exactly at the core of what we're thinking about. And with COVID, we are seeing new things that get us to think about how we're going to position that in the future.
Mm. Yeah, that's totally accurate. On the platform side of things, obviously, creating more modular functionality is something that we are interested in targeting for some of those verticals. So when we are looking at core product features, we're thinking about what is going to solve the problem at least 80% of our customers, for example. Like, we're not looking to build for like super small niches within our user base. Those are kind of where we hope to think about like the integrations, the apps, the modularity, and how can we solve problems with that in that space. All right, so we'll jump a little bit into learning about creator needs here. So this is kind of one of the high level understandings in the way that we think about some of the uncertain, moving from uncertainty into more of the confidence around what we're building, essentially. So for us, we're always starting in the customer needs. Depends, I've seen this done in different ways, starting with vision, starting with different things. But for us, we're thinking about the customer first. What are the things that we want to impact for our customers? What problems do they have? And really getting to know who our core customer is, and how we really can help them, essentially. Once we've gone through that, we focus on diverging. So we start to build our vision based off of what does our customer need, and we start to explore some of the large level visionary solutions or ideas within that. When we say solution ideas, it's not like we're going to build a backlog based off of that and start to do those things. It's more like those big level visionary aspects of it. Moving into concept development and research, this is really where the pod starts to take effect, and we really work collaboratively as a team to start to think about the different concepts, the research, development, leveraging people on our growth team, on our data team, trying to figure out how can we really collect insights around a lot of that stuff, as well as the validation and the experimentation. So kind of within those two spaces, and then based off of that helps us to really start to think about what is that strategy and that roadmap that we're going to build. We'll talk a little bit about prioritization in a little bit, and that's kind of one of the first aspects, just to getting to clear priorities from an outcome perspective that we really want to start to focus on. And a lot of different types of insights that we're collecting here. So for us, these are a lot of the things that we think about. So from a product management tool set perspective, we use a product called Product Board. I know Scott works at Product, so he always loves when we give him a little a little love over there. But so we use Product Board. One of the things that we have set up in Product Board is that every single person in our company has their Chrome tool. It's a Chrome plugin that allows them to copy and paste any piece of text and send it to the product manager as an insight. And then that goes into our backlog to be able to prioritize and take a look and parse through a lot of that content. And so that's one of those things that we take a look at. It's called the user impact score in Product Board, but it really helps us start to group a lot of those insights that we're seeing. Working with the data team what was that? Was that you, bro?
No, it's all good. Sorry.
Data analysis. We're working a lot with the data team. We also obviously product marketing within Thinkific doesn't live in the product team; it lives on the marketing team, and so that's one of our external stakeholders. But we work really closely with them to identify the marketing trends, and so a lot, not just not at the point once we've already completed a feature, but largely earlier on in that process of saying, okay, here's what we're trying, here's the outcome we're trying to think about. What are some of these trends that we're seeing? How can we work with them? And so that's a lot of like shared collaboration / delegation and helping them have an understanding of what our priorities are and how can they help to inform those as well. One of the new pieces that we're really thinking about is PM collaboration and shared insights in a common persona. And this is one of the things we've been really working with as we've scaled from 2 product managers to 9 product managers, is helping, how can we make our product management team better have a shared understanding of who our customer is, so that when Bara and I are going and having different customer conversations, we're not getting a different understanding and having different priorities set with that. We bring all of those together as part of some of those rituals and those general meetings that we have. We're sharing those collaborations into a common document where we can really start to hone in on a core customer persona for us. I think that's a bit different. At Thinkific, we have external, our marketing team has a number of different personas of how we market and how we drive value and bring customers to Thinkific. But on the product side, we're really focused on the single sole persona to really help drive the roadmap that we're building for a very specific purpose there. Growth experiments, I've mentioned this a little bit. We have a growth team. They're working and prioritizing a bunch of really cool stuff on their side. And a lot of those insights we share together and helps inform the roadmaps that we build. Customer research. So we also have a research team that we've launched recently. They're not doing the customer research for us right now, but they're really helping to inform better process around how do we build and conduct surveys, targeted user interviews, and really collect that into one space where we can really start to share that as well. And customer feedback trends from our support team and from our NPS. One of the things that at Thinkific I love about the way we work actually is one of our core values is being fanatical about customer success. And so every single person at Thinkific is expected to spend some time in the support queue, working with our customers, solving customer problems. And that happens from I think it's probably week 2 that someone joins Thinkific. And straight up until I think I've been here for 3.5 years, and I'm still spending time in the support queue helping to bring those tickets down. And that's a really good way for us to kind of interact, talk to the other support people that see a lot of the problems our customers have every single day, and really have a close touch with the customers that need help essentially. Single persona is the content creator. Yeah, so we do have a lot more specifics on like who that person is, what do they look like, yeah. So how do you ensure great content consumer experience? Content consumer experience. Maybe elaborate on that. Brad, do you have any ideas on that side of things?
Yeah, I'm just adding. So that's one of the personas we're after. This is actually, in fact, this is like the main persona that the company started with, as someone who has expertise and they want to launch their own courses and manage student enrollment and paying for courses and reporting, et cetera, et cetera. And we have a customer education team that really helps customers a lot. They do onboarding, like they have amazing programming for course creators to help them really have the best experience possible. And so we have onboarding, a lot of articles, we do a lot of interviews with customers, talk about course creators who are very successful to kind of ask them about what makes them successful and share that with the customers. And we have lots of groups and communities that we manage course creator and help them engage with them. So we look after them to ensure their success. And we will continue to add tools inside Thinkific that will help. That makes it more inside the product as a total experience, maybe providing templates or themes or things to start with, so you're not really thinking out loud. And this year as well, Avi can talk about it, Aaron can talk about it, we have a huge focus on learning experience. We want to look at it from a student perspective and course creator perspective. So this year, we're really focusing on that part, improving that, giving them everything they need to help them make them successful. So we do care. And as Avi mentioned, one of our core principles is we're fanatical about customer success. Mm-hmm. And we give a shit. Like that's another one that we talk about. Like we really care about our customers and do whatever it takes to help them out. I hope that answered your question, James.
I think David added a little bit more clarity on the other side of things. So this has been over the years at Thinkific. It's been one of the great debates of the learners, the students within our experience. What level do we focus on their priorities versus the priorities of our course creators? And really, where we focus on is what the course creator feels is the best experience for their students. And so that's really what we measure it on. We don't measure based off of like traditional LMS spaces. Like this is what research shows is the best education experience for a student. We really care about what is the experience that the course creator is trying to create for their users. And that's really what the way we look at them is they are their users. And their experience. And so we even go to the extent of like, we have to request access from a course creator in order to even talk to their users. So we don't have a direct line to the end student in most cases, unless we're working with a client specifically. We really kind of keep that separated as much as possible. hopefully that answered the question there. Cool. Okay, so kind of on the deciding what to build side of things, I think this has a number of different layers and features within it. So this is the way that we think about it. So we talked a little bit earlier on from the product perspective around kind of wallowing and getting to a roadmap. And so we see prioritization and deciding what to build in 3 different spaces and with a bit of a different RACI for each of them. So first of all, we, as Bra mentioned earlier, we're objective-based. So we do OKRs. Those OKRs are prioritized kind of in our top-down, bottoms-up manner with the leadership team. So those are prioritized by the leadership team within product, and then the product managers and the pod are own individual objectives. So each of those are kind of how we form teams around those pieces. So thinking about specifically course creation and how do we improve course creation as one of our objectives, that is where a team will start to focus. We move in then into outcomes. And so this is really where the product manager is really thinking about their opportunities. Are we Lucy, how are we doing for time?
Doing good. Instead of 2 sessions repeating the same information, we're just going to let this one flow. I'm sorry, everyone who wanted to be in the prize draw. I didn't end the session. I was too just wrapped up in what everyone was saying. But I think it plays out really well. So just keep on going. We're going to finish.
I apologize. I lost no time.
No apologies. So sorry, everyone who you missed one prize draw, but you might win the next one. But I'm really into this. So please keep going.
Awesome. Okay, great. Okay, so outcomes is really where we as product managers have the opportunity to think about how we prioritize a lot of the things. And so this is the piece that is owned by us, usually on a quarterly basis. So I probably should have had a screen share of kind of what one of this looks like. Bra talked about the 5-1-5-2 that we have. The way we build product and the way we kind of structure the outcomes is in kind of a cadence around that. We hope that our outcomes are going to largely drive maybe 1, maybe 2 outcomes for a specific team within a quarter, depending on those build cycles. And that's really prioritized by the product managers and with collaboration from a number of other people. Then we jump into like the needs and the features. This is the piece that is prioritized by the pod itself. And so when we actually get to that level, this is where it's really important to think about some of those, the architecture, the design experience, and that team works together to prioritize and figure out what are the things that are we can build that can achieve those outcomes, because all of those aspects have to really be involved in that in order to create outcomes. So I'll talk a little bit about like decision-making frameworks, I suppose. I would say the best way to describe how we prioritize at Thinkific is collaboratively. So we do use user impact scores within product. We think about the strategy. We think about the architecture and the tech. We do use some frameworks like the Kano model and like the Rice framework. We experiment with a bunch of different ones. And I would say that one of the pain points as we are growing so quickly is there are a lot of different ways that we think about how we prioritize and use different frameworks. But the key there is that a Rice framework it's not the magic formula to figure out exactly what is the thing you're going to build. We use a lot of these things as conversation tools. So you build a Rice framework and you prioritize things and put them in a list in order to have a conversation with your stakeholders to understand what they see as that priority. I was at Mind the Product a couple years ago, and one of the biggest things I took from that was every time you see a list on the wall, you go up to it and you put a number behind each of those things. So it's never just an unordered list, it's always an ordered list, because that creates priority and that creates a better conversation around a lot of those things. And so I take a lot of that to heart, and I see that kind of in the way that we build product and do a lot of this stuff as well. So operational and stakeholder feedback is also a huge aspect of that. For myself, one of the pieces, the way that we organize on our platform team, so I'm part of a pod, as we've talked about, but I'm also very, very closely aligned with our director of platform operations. And so we have a really close working relationship between our operations team there and our product management and our pod group and our product team. And so to the extent where we actually have shared OKRs. We don't have different OKRs and are working on different things. Our operation team and our product team are working towards the same objectives, and so they have a huge input into the state of what we are building and the prioritization, because it's important to their roles as well. So it is truly collaborative, I would say. The last thing I wanted to touch on really quickly, as we start to hopefully just open up for a little bit more of like a conversational style here, is just some of the tools that we're using. We talked, I feel like I've said the word collaboration a lot today, but I think that it's pretty important. Moving in, when we all went, normally we have an office. So our office is over on Terminal, close to Science World. When COVID happened, I think I especially felt so much pain in terms of the lack of connection with the rest of the team and the way that we collaborate and the way that we work. So collaboration tools for us have been really important. I love the tool Miro. I think we use that for everything pretty much. Every time we're trying to just put things up on a wall, it's a virtual whiteboard. It really helps us to think about and have conversations and put things in a visual context. So we're using that. We're using our product teams are using Jira. We are using Product Board for our organization. I see a question of why did we choose Product Board? Probably, I would say, well, Scott did work at Thinkific, and he was the one that had brought that in, and we have had no reason to leave it, I would say. So it's been a great tool for us in terms of its ability to collect insights and emanate a roadmap and a set of priorities. And so that's really what we need from it. And we've kind of really harnessed it and used it in that sense. So we have had no reason to move away from it, but I can't say that I've had too much experience with using other tools as well. From a data perspective, we use our data team and ourselves. I come from an engineering background myself, so I am able to look at some of the data myself and spend some time writing some queries. So we use Mode to track and collect a lot of that information. Mixpanel, Google Analytics, Full Story, and then we use app queues within our product to provide a lot of real-time feedback and those sorts of things as well. Calendly, Zoom, Typeform. I think those are a lot of the standards I would assume for other people, but we found those as really useful tools to be able to automate that process and getting in touch with our customers. So that's kind of the end of what we had prepared here. Cool. Lucy, you mentioned, are you using Product Board as well?
Yes, we started using Product Board at Lendesk towards the end of last year, and I agree. It's a really for collating a whole bunch of different kind of insights from many different stakeholders that comes from everywhere, collated in one space. And also, I quite like the timeline and the roadmap function. I think it's a really useful place to easily kind of set that up, and then to have stakeholders be able to go to one centralized location and kind of look at it and see what they need to. So yeah, so far so good, but we're still pretty new.
We're building a big ad here for Scott.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions that you saw there that we kind of want to dig into? Does anybody have things they want to touch on, I suppose?
Oh, we've got a few coming in.
Cool.
I think.
How far is our roadmap built out?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good question. With certainty, I would say a quarter, maybe half a year in terms of like. Actually, I'll go back to this. So in terms of objectives, we think about them. I would say think about this from the fidelity of how structured and focused is our roadmap. So needs and features. This is like we don't know what we're actually necessarily building next quarter until we kind of start that exploration with that team. The outcomes are prioritized, and the roadmap that we build is largely is displaying the outcomes that we're hoping to achieve, and those are within. We have that pretty penciled in for about a year, but that's constantly changing and very much in flux. Probably more certainty within like the half a year or so, and then the objectives. Those are often the team because the team owns those and they're organized around those, our teams are fairly long-term, and so they will work on a single objective for at least a year. We do, within our annual planning, we'll take a look at a lot of that stuff, but they're thinking about those objectives in a long-term capacity.
There's some great questions. So to add something to what AV mentioned or Aaron mentioned, some of you, Aaron like to be called AV because he's amongst a lot of Aaron, so he has to find a unique name. So AV described that. We talk about the concept of roadmap is directional. They don't communicate timeline. And so they tell us where we need to go, but we reserve the right to change direction based on the new information. So we do that. And that's why, we have a plan for what we want to achieve in the year, but beyond the quarter, everything is kind of not concrete. Sometimes it's concrete. I'm the newest member of the team, so I haven't had a chance to kind of, I've been there for 6 months. So Aaron have seen that, and his reflection in terms of quarter is the correct way. I'm starting to see that is very concrete going forward.
Mm-hmm. Alan, that you talked a little bit about like the 2 to 3 year. Are we looking that far out? Not at this point. I would say that, so we've always been, our objectives, the one level above objectives for us is our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal. Our goal is to get 100,000 successful course creators. We have an internal definition of what that is. For us, a successful creator is someone that has at least 10 enrollments. And so that's really where we are guided by. And those are the things, the objectives and the annual priorities that we're building are designed around that. And so that's the extent that we have. For us, I think this past year too, the way that COVID has changed our business has shown us that 2 to 3 years is almost not at this point. Things are changing so quickly in our industry that it's almost not worth spending a lot of time looking that far out.
Yeah, and Ben, he talks about how we organize, split the work between the pods. I think we do have, there are areas of the business where it's very specific. It's owned, like the platform part of the business is owned by AV. Aaron, I own the enterprise offering. And then we have other products that own the mobile, own the learning experience and other pieces. So we do have those pods around, and maybe that's how it is. So this is how we kind of self-organize. I hope that answers that question. Thank you, Avia. I forgot that we have that exact slide.
Yeah, this was kind of probably at the beginning. I don't know, Ben, if you're here earlier, but this is how we think about value streams or almost like a jobs to be done perspective, because we have a single product but many pods within that and what many product managers. We're thinking about how do we break it into, I think if we are the intersection between entrepreneurship and running a business through education. And so we separate it into those two logical pieces and have a lot of support on a lot of the other things. So thinking about some of the cross-cutting value streams as well.
Philza said, where does UX and design fit into needs, feature prioritization? There are a lot of questions I have follow up, but I think if I want to answer that quickly, it's part of design and tech. It's part of a pod, and we're talking all the time in terms of how that works. Mm-hmm. We have core principles that we are abide by, especially where consumer side facing product and customer rely on us for a lot of workflows. So UX really fits well with how we're designing things. And the design team, like as product people, we talk about why and what we need to build, but how is going to be built. That's kind of where the UX team comes in and the engineering, and then the when is when it goes to the team to deliver it. So that's kind of how it is. And, AVN. Describe as well.
Yeah, I would like this question. I want to dive into this one. So what's the fastest you've conceived of a feature, set up a pod, built and launched the feature, and what drove that urgency? I would say the fastest this has ever happened was in March of last year when COVID hit. We put together a COVID task force, and one of those kind of pods or those working groups that we put together was a team that ended up launching today what is our Zoom integration. And so we really said, okay, how can we actually change our business to help course creators that are trying to cope with the pandemic. And that's been the biggest challenge that we've had all year. Is there have been so many people that have had their businesses disrupted because of COVID, and have been trying to find a solution online that can solve that. And Thinkific has luckily been in a strong position in order to support that. And we've been doing what we can in order to make sure that those customers are successful and those people can keep their businesses alive. That's really what we care about and what we value. So that was the born from that priority, thinking about, okay, we have a lot of new people exploring Thinkific, trying to figure out how can this work for them, but we are missing some of that live element. And so we were able to launch the Zoom integration in, it might have taken maybe a couple months or something like that. I can't remember exactly the specifics. I wasn't on that project, but I think that's probably a bit of a special situation in terms of what that happens. Normally, the way pods are built is in a very methodical way. And so we're thinking about that from a strategic perspective, thinking about how are we going to invest when we build up a pod? How are new employees being brought into them? How are we moving people around in pods? And when we have enough people to form a new pod, where are they focused on? And so we really prioritize those needs as we're thinking about how we grow.
Ivy, Yuki asked, what are some of the specific challenges that our fast-growing product team face? You want to take that one?
Yeah, a lot. So I alluded to a little bit. One of the biggest problems that we've had is collective knowledge, I would say. We have some people at Thinkific that are fairly institutional, have been here for a while, and a lot of product managers that are just getting wet in and just starting to dip their toes into this opportunity, and a lot of time spent with the customer, but making sure that we have a consistent view, I think, is the most important piece. Because I've been here for about 3.5 years, I've really seen us move from a product which was a feature factory, where we were just building things that needed to be done, and really transition that over the time into kind of where we are today. And I'm not going to say that we're perfect. We definitely have a lot of things that we're trying to figure out. One of I would say the shortcomings that I have is in my documentation and my ability to kind of share that institutional knowledge. And I think that's been one of those pieces that we've just had to work really hard over, especially recently as we've been adding new people, is creating a shared understanding of who our customer is, what are their pain points, what are the insights we have around them, so that everybody can be more effective. And I think that involves slowing down. I think to some extent, and just taking the time to do that. I've been used to moving super fast and not having time to do a lot of that stuff. And I just need to make myself feel more comfortable around that, I suppose.
Cool. Well, while we wait for some more questions to generate in the chat, I just thought I'd throw one out there. And I'd love for you guys to explain, what is something that you're really excited for in 2021?
Excited for? I'm kind of in the launching stages of a new feature within Thinkific. It's I'm allowed to talk about it now, at least, I suppose. So our App Store, it's been something I've been working on for a while, and the platform team has been working on for a while. And so we're preparing to launch that. I'm very excited to see the impact of that, and how that can how our customers are going to react to it. We've been putting some people into it early on right now, and fairly encouraged by the results, but really excited to see kind of where that moves forward. The other one I was thinking a little bit is like, within COVID, I think that we are a very we are super collaborative, and so we've been trying to find ways to do that. And for myself, I think COVID has been both a blessing and a curse in that sense, because we have had to find new ways of working, and I feel like we've gotten to a lot better state there, but I kind of like working from home now. So I'm going to kind of miss the fact when we start to move into a physical environment again. But I think obviously there's a lot of opportunities and excitement around a lot of that stuff. So that was my thoughts. How about you, Bra?
Yeah, this year I'm super excited. I think the world is excited to end COVID. So that's on the personal level. Everybody's like it's like 2020, see you later. Like it's like you're saying goodbye to someone and adding a new one. So that's really exciting for everybody, I think. I think on Thinkific side is because I handle the enterprise offering. This year we're working on giving birth to what that offering is, what that customer needs. Because as Ivy mentioned, the product is the same. And we start to see a lot of different customer needs, some unique needs that is needed for one customer segment, but not the other. So really building that enterprise offering really well. And we started heading into new areas where it's exciting and amazing. And so what I'm excited with the team is really building that unique enterprise offering that just is completely different, that will give customers the amazing experience they're looking for. And it's out of the box. So that's really what I'm excited about. It's just a pure enterprise offering. And then, we are amazing with early adopters, but we have a lot of work to get to, escape, cross that chasm, as Jeff Moore explains, to attract the customer. So I'm really, really excited to lead the team and go after those opportunities.
Awesome. And it looks like there's another question from Shane, who asks, how is dealing with all the growth while being remote?
Whew. Yeah, I think that's one of the weirdest things is when we left, I think we were about 100 people. And so more than half the company now, I've never even met them in person. I think that's going to be very interesting when we get back into the office. That has been one of the things I would miss. I think the missed opportunities, one of the things I think about from being remote and that we're missing is those chance interactions with a lot of the people, like the people that I normally saw and was able to share ideas with in the hallway. I haven't seen them sometimes in months. And so I think that's a weird piece. And I think that's one of the big challenges of being remote. But I think that remote, obviously, I think it comes with its own upsides as well. For us, we've been able to hire some product managers that are somewhat distributed and team members across all of our different departments that are distributed to some extent. And so I think that's been super, super helpful to kind of broaden our horizons a little bit and see some different opportunities from different spaces as well. We're almost out of time, aren't we?
Oh, well, we've still got a few minutes. So if no one else has a question, I'll ask a question that may sound a little negative to end on. However, it's not meant that way. So you guys have gone through some growth and some change. You talk about pulling in pieces of work and exploring it before you actually commit to building it. So what I wanted to know is, could you talk through some of the failures, I guess, that you've had? And the reason I don't think this is a negative thing is I think failures are actually really good. We need them to learn. I think they're really important. So if you guys can share some or any kind of example of one time that you've tried something and it failed and what you learned.
Yeah. I'll start. So I'll start with this one. So with the platform focus that we've had for a while, one of the things that we never thought about, I would say early on, and we've really had to focus and really build a lot of the structure around, was we started deploying a lot of features and that we weren't used to. We were used to like dropping it and being like, hey, great, check out this new thing. Isn't it amazing? But we've also been trying to curate a layer of partners around Thinkific. And you can't do that when you have partners relying on the stability around your platform. And I think that was one of the big learnings that we had, is we got a lot of angry people as we started to try and build product how we used to build product, but not taking into consideration some of those new stakeholders. And it was pretty eye-opening for myself as I was starting to talk to a lot of these people and the frustration level that they had. For me, that was one of the big challenges that I had for a time. I think one of the other examples came from one of the big learnings I had it was probably about a year ago or so. We launched a Shopify app on Thinkific. And so we really wanted to, we saw a strong opportunity in terms of building a a connection with that organization, building the ability to create courses alongside your physical goods. And so during that whole process, if you've ever built an app or looked at that experience, there's a lot of things you have to do that don't necessarily add value to the creator or to the customer, to the end customer, that you have to build in order to be accepted into the App Store. And this is, I suppose most product managers will have to get to that point, but have learned this lesson to some extent, but really trying to figure out what is the core value that you can provide and how can you get it to your customers as fast as possible. We spent about a quarter building the functionality there, and then had pressure to say, okay, we've got a functional experience, but it is not, it's not in a state where it can actually be submitted to the App Store and doesn't provide us value by being in front of more of those, in front of more customers. And so I felt pressure to continue on and say, okay, great, we've got this here, but we need to keep working on this thing. And so we're going to keep our heads down. We're going to keep focusing on building the next pieces to that. And hindsight, I think it would have been so much more effective in delivering that value right then and there to the customers that we could. So our customers were already calling for that need, and a lot of them were trying to find solutions that would have been solved by that. That would have been so much better in terms of collecting early feedback before getting into an app store where people review your app and actually provide feedback on it that is public, so that we could work some of the kinks out. There's a lot of learnings from that experience that I had, and really the biggest takeaway from me, and really what I've tried to build into a lot of the products, is every time you're looking at something, think about how you can build it into phases. It might be something that's built in multiple builds or releases, but you always have to break it into those smaller sub pieces and figure out, okay, what is the smallest amount of value that you can provide incrementally, and keep moving beyond that. And that was my example of how I learned that the difficult way. How about you, Brenna? Are we out of time?
I think we have just hit time, and we need to be heading back to stage, I believe, unless.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who came here, who stayed with us. It was a really awesome talk. It's hard not to see you, but really awesome to present to you. I hope we were able to share with you how we think about Thinkific. It's a starting point, and on just as a promotion, public announcement, we're hiring a lot of people in every department. So if you are interested, or if you have someone who would be awesome to have, please reach out. We're on LinkedIn. I put my email, but would love to talk to you about it. So thank you so much for coming. Back to you.
Oh yeah, and thank you both, Aaron and Bara, for presenting, and thank you everyone for all the really awesome questions. As far as I'm aware, according to the schedule, we need to jump back into the stage, I believe, to do a bit of a wrap up in the prize draw. So I'm going to leave this meeting and then do that. So
okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you very much. If we leave, does this end? Is that how this works?
I'm not sure. I haven't done this before. I guess we can.
I suppose I'll stay until it's still.
Yeah.
Turn off the lights here.
Maybe assuming still got 9. Right, I'm going to click leave and jump to the stage just in case. Oh, okay, party's over, right. Well, the party is heading to the stage for another main event, Dave. I think they have a prize draw and the Q&A.
Yep, head over there.
Perfect.
All right, see ya.